Welcome back to Rookie HQ, where we do what we always do, and we're going to profile one of the rookies for the 2026 draft. And it just so happens we're profiling one of my favorite rookies, my wide receiver one of the class, Gospel George Tate. That's Carnell Tate for those of you who are uninitiated. And Carnell Tate comes in, and the reason I call Carnell Tate Gospel George is it's like watching George Pickens if he only grew up listening to gospel music. So with Carnell Tate, you've got a prototypical X receiver. You've got a guy who's 6'3". He's, in the range of 195 to 200 pounds, depending on where you look. And you've got a guy who walks into Ohio State, and his freshman year, he puts up more receptions than guys like future first rounders, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison. So he was able to outperform those guys, even though, comparatively speaking, of course. So freshman year, rookie year, whatever you want to call it, he puts up 18 catches, I believe, for around 264 yards, scores 1 touchdown, and then we get to work. So his sophomore year at Ohio State, he comes out and he puts up 711 yards, and that's when he really jumps off the film. And this is with future first rounder Emeka Egbuka. This is coming in as one of the most touted prospects. There's always a touted prospect from Ohio State. Carnell Tate came out of IMG Academy after being, playing his first 2 years of high school in Chicago. And he has really taken that step forward in a crowded wide receiver room. Again, Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, the prince who was promised, is now, has entered into the room in 2024 and was all the rage. But Carnell Tate still managed to carve out a role. So we have a guy here who is not afraid of competition. You go to Ohio State, you know that you're going to get pushed to be at your best at all times. So he knows how to exist. He knows how to coexist in a realm in which, he's not going to be the primary target earner, which makes me even more excited about his pro prospects. So just from the analytical profile alone, this was his breakout year in 2025. He broke out in 2024, but this was the more complete package. So he puts up 51 catches, 875 yards, 9 touchdowns. And there was so much more left to do. I believe he missed 3 games with a calf strain. And there's some questions about his ability to his position versatility. He's lined up, basically out wide for the vast majority of his snaps. And beyond that, he's, we don't really have very much footage of him, snapping off after the catch and just taking it, taking a run, taking a pass to the house. So there's questions about his profile, but this is, to me, what makes him, these things that I've alluded to before are what make him such a special prospect, in my opinion, and very similar to George Pickens. We never got to see the full iteration of a guy like George Pickens because he was in an environment where they didn't give him a lot of opportunities. Carnell Tate doesn't have a ton of opportunities, but he still performed to the best of his ability when he was called upon. Again, crowded wide receiver room, first round pick in Emeka Egbuka, generational talent in Jeremiah Smith. He still manages to put up 700 yards and score 6 touchdowns. And then this year he takes another step forward, with Jeremiah Smith, the presumptive, top 5 pick or whatever he is in the 2027 class, and he still puts it on wax. So you got an absolute baller here. So let's get into a little bit more about what makes him so special. It's starting off, it's the prototypical size. He's 6'3", he's 200 pounds. He lined up primarily on the line of scrimmage out wide for the majority of his snaps at Ohio State. He's a willing blocker. He gets involved in the run game, even when he's not getting the ball, which is one thing that we can't say about certain players that I've compared him to as much as I love them. They don't really want to block. So Carnell Tate is a willing blocker, which then it doesn't really pigeonhole the franchises that you're able to, that you're going to be able to play for. If you're a 49ers receiver, you better get out there and block. If you're a Rams receiver, they use Puka Nacua as a lead blocker on some plays. And there's guys that I'm really excited about in this class that they do the same thing with. But with Carnell Tate, you can line him up tight to the line of scrimmage, and he's able to handle his own with potentially a linebacker or even like a walk down safety. that makes me really excited for what he could do when just in an offense, because they're able to trust him in certain situations. Now, if you put a guy out there like in goal line, you can get Tank Dell, but that's a different story for a different day. Moving on, beyond his ability to block, his ability at the catch point is elite. He's got great ball skills. He plays the ball in the air. He's a 3D attacker. He's able to get separation. All right. He's able to create some after the catch. I know people say that he can't, but you just turn the tape on. As some say, watch the film, brother. And he's able to create in the air at the catch point. So you have three different ways that he can win. And on top of that, there's not a ton of prototypical X receivers anymore. So the league going from the slot types, the quote unquote slot merchants, to a correction of some sorts back to a guy like Carnell Tate. You can have a guy who gets 140 targets and gives you 16 points a game from a fantasy perspective, which is what I believe his ceiling could potentially be, if not higher. So I'm really excited about Carnell Tate. I would take him as early as the 1-2 in my rookie drafts. And beyond that, we haven't even talked about the fact that, he's thrived in crowded environments, competitive environments. And I think just having the clarity of a team spending the type of pick that he's going to command, like we're getting some early mock drafts, and all of this could change because of the combine, but you're getting him mocked to the Titans at pick 4, which, as you can see, I would absolutely love that. But, we do have other needs, but that's, again, different story, different day. He's getting mocked to the Browns at pick 6. I mean, I personally think that, he could be a fit if the Cowboys decide that they can't afford the price tag on George Pickens at 12. The Rams at pick 13 or pick 28 or whatever they have. They've got 2 first-round picks. Shout out to the Falcons. He could be a fit for them as the Devontae Adams replacement. So all of these opportunities are wide open to a guy who demonstrates the ability to block, when he's not getting the football. He also, when he's not the primary read in the route, he's still running off the ball hard. He's still selling his route. He has a great understanding of zone concepts and how to sit down in zones and how to sell routes. And his body language is very quarterback friendly. So you have all these positive traits in a polished project that spent his last 2 years at IMG competing in high level environments, becomes one of the best recruits in the country, goes to a wide receiver factory, then breaks out at said wide receiver factory. Like, sometimes these things are just so obvious, we don't realize how we missed them. And I feel like that's the case with a guy like Carnell Tate. So again, if you haven't realized it yet, Carnell Tate, my pro comp for him is a guy like George Pickens, or shout out to my guy Dustin. He told me to go back and watch some Amani Toomer from back in the day, and that's also awesome. So the sideline, the body control, I would love to see him in an environment where he could command 140 targets, because I do believe with his ability, the myriad of releases that he has to get off of press coverage. Like, he does one thing that I see Puka Nacua do, where he'll sell an outside route and then win inside on a go ball and then get back to the numbers. So he has tremendous spatial awareness to go along with all of these other traits that make him such a dynamic receiver, so much so that he's my number 1 receiver. And I gave him a nickname back in October, and now everybody's comparing him to George Pickens. So if you made it this far, that's Carnell Tate. I would take him as the 1-2 in my rookie drafts. I will accept no further questions at this time. We're excited to see what the testing numbers look like, because I think that's going to inform us more. But a guy who's a highly touted recruit out of IMG, goes in Ohio State, performs. Not only that, he develops as a wide receiver. At first it was just kind of hey, we're going to line you up out wide, you're the clear out guy, to, hey, we're going to clearly feature you in the offense, even though we have Jeremiah Smith, and we're going to let you accentuate a little bit more of what your skill set is, which is, again, being able to get off of press coverage, dominating in the run game, and being able to win at the catch point. As some say, actually, this is Dustin saying, aura at the catch point. And as I always say, There's ball watchers and ball knowers. So please, please leave me a comment and let me know how you feel about Carnell Tate. Where is he in this class for you? I know a lot of people don't like this class, but it's all about what you're looking for. So I think Carnell Tate, as my wide receiver one, is going to be able to give us multiple wide receiver one seasons for fantasy. Please let me know how you feel. Like, share, subscribe. This is the Rookie HQ. I'm Chev. I'll see you in the next video.